Welcome to Under the Hood, a Fuel AI miniseries spotlighting the people behind the data powering AI. I'm Virginia Puccio, founder and CEO of Fuel AI. Each episode features a top bounty hunter and the impact they're making. Let's get into it. Welcome back to another episode of Under the Hood. If you know anything about Fuel AI's top earning bounty hunters, then you've definitely heard the name Sean W. Sean has been number one in the US many weeks in a row. He's currently based out of Toledo, Ohio. Hey, Sean, welcome to the mini pod.
Hello, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, excited to speak to you today. This is going to be a lot of fun. So I'd love to hear a little bit about how long you've been a bounty hunter. I know you're one of our longest standing bounty hunters. You were the 135th person to register as a bounty hunter. So that says a lot because we're in the thousands now. So tell me a little bit about how long you've been a bounty hunter and how did you hear about it?
Great question. So I've been a bounty hunter for about 2 years now, little less than 2 years, probably like a year and like 10 months, we'll say. And it's been quite an experience learning of how to be a bounty hunter. I had to kind of like crawl my way forward. Now I'm running. It's a really cool experience. I enjoy doing it a lot. I was recruited by John Nam. He had contacted me and told me that there was an opportunity to be a bounty hunter and I should check it out. And so I was very excited to learn about it and I signed up and I started getting assignments, and week after week, the assignments kind of grew. And then I fell in love with it more and more because it's such a great time. And here we are almost 2 years later. And it's breezed by so fast where I can't believe that it's been almost 2 years, where it feels like it was yesterday when I signed up.
Yeah, that's awesome. For those who don't know, John Nam is actually my co-founder at Fuel AI. So yeah, you've been here from the beginning. That's great.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. So what made you want to join, aside from John telling you about it? And did you have any like sort of reservations or second thoughts about being a bounty hunter at first?
So what made me want to join was just being invited was part of the fun of it, where it was something completely new. And I was like, what is this? Let me try it out. What I really enjoyed about it was the concept of going out to different stores like Target, Best Buy, Home Depot, and capturing photos of the price tags and the products on the shelf. I'd never heard of such a thing, and I thought it was crazy. And to be honest with you, when I first signed up, I didn't expect it to be a long-term experience. I thought it was going to be like a quick flash in the pan, something that I was going to just, check out, see if I liked it, and maybe move on. But as I got used to it and got more feedback and understood the process, and you guys grew, because you guys definitely formed up a lot of more formality towards things, which helped me understand how to do my job better. So as it's gone forward, I basically have become more tuned in on how to be a good bounty hunter. I feel like it was difficult at first because I just didn't know what I was doing. And I did kind of have a tiny little thought in my head that, what is this? Is this a scam? Is this some sort of like, take my social security number and my money and run type situation? But as I got more used to it and more familiar, I definitely can tell it's not a scam. It's a legitimate opportunity to make money. And what I really like about doing the bounties is the fact that like I can set my own schedule. I go out and I get my captures by my deadline, and I get paid every single week. And I think that's a really cool concept because a lot of places, they don't pay you weekly, they pay you bi-weekly, or you have to hit a certain limit before you can cash out. And so there's a whole different, game here where it's like, this is a great experience to be able to like go out, make money, and it's legit. It's a legitimate money-making experience.
Yeah, that's great. So you mentioned that you go to stores and take pictures. Tell me a little bit about the missions that you work on. What is that like?
So every week I get a list of stores that I'm going to go to, probably about 9 to 10 stores a week. And I have to go in and get different categories, such as like consumer electronics, like speakers, TVs, computers, flat screen monitors, all the fun things that you see at any of the local stores you shop at. And basically I go out and I just take about 500 photos per store. next thing you know, I get money, and it's great because it's a really easy opportunity to make cash, and I think it's fun because traveling around the stores is quite the experience when you get to just like basically get paid to go shopping. And I walk a lot, which I think is really cool. I checked on my Apple Watch one day after working on my shifts or my stores, and I walked 7.5 miles in one day
Wow.
just getting photos. And I was like, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's really cool. So you also are working on another project for us for an AI builder related to planograms.
Yes.
So tell us about that. What's that like?
So the planograms are basically this concept where I'm going into the stores and I'm finding out where different products lay on the actual shelf, and I'm getting the price tags and the location of them, and I'm combining them on the screen as if it's a map. So basically you could print it out, look at it, and know exactly where in a store something is on the shelf. The planograms are pretty inventory. I put at the top a key, like if you were looking at a map where it would say make, model, product number, SKU number, file number. So that way when you look at it, you can sit there and you can see where things are in relation to like the product's name and all those details, where it's kind of very like it's supposed to be a quick glance, where you look at it, you can read it, and you know what you're reading.
Okay, that's awesome. Um, so I imagine, and I think we've kind of heard from you a little bit. There's been a little bit of a learning curve on this one. Is it a challenging project? Is it fun? What does it feel like?
First off, it is fun. I enjoy the project because it's a challenge, but it's kind of one of those things where it's like, hey, you know all the computer skills, you know all the details, just put it together and sit down and do it. I will say the hardest part about it is getting the data sorted properly via the ChatGPT or Google Gemini, which is who I'm using. I have found that there are issues with using those services in getting them to be properly, meticulously dictated. So I've had a lot of learning to how to write the right prompt to ask the AI what to output for me. For example, I will ask it to do things like make a tabbed TSV line as a single entry. Because if I say give it to me all at once, it'll lump the past 5 photos above me. And sometimes what it does is it does this like disconnect where it's like the files are here, but then the file numbers get put up here because it all gets linked together. And so if I do it one at a time, it's a little bit more comfortable for me to then process and double check and verify, because then I can look at one line at a time, read it, look at the photo, say this matches. Because there is an accuracy that you have to have. I can't just give you, nonsense that doesn't make sense. If a Q is a G, it matters. And so I have to go in, and sometimes there's like letters that get transposed, or it does have hard times between like E's and 3's.
Right.
Sometimes, where it's like I have to go in, and as a human being, I have to double check it. The other issue that I keep running into is I'm using Photoshop, and I have a lot of experience with Photoshop, but I also feel sort of like there's got to be an easier way than doing it this way. Because I'm manually doing it. Like I'm going in there and I'm taking inside the file and I make that, and then I type on top of it, and then I put these little juts out of all the product information. And that's what's so time consuming for me, is because I have to like physically tell the Adobe Photoshop the words and type them all in, and then make sure that it lets me click the right corner, because sometimes I'll click it wrong and then all of a sudden it's gone or it's below a layer. So it is a learning curve, but I definitely find it to be a simple, easy task. It just seems to be, it's like baking a cake, It's not easy. It's not something you can do instantaneously. If you don't mix the ingredients properly, you're not going to be able to get the right outcome. And so that's kind of been my issue with doing the planograms. It's just a lot of details, and I feel like the details matter, so I have to be fine-tooth and comb with it. And so I do suspect that as I do more, I should be able to get better at it. I think there's like shortcuts that I don't even know exist yet, And so I'm looking forward to the grind of it. And I really appreciate the opportunity of learning something for you guys to be able to like put it out there for you because it's we're all learning.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good to know. That's really good information about those planograms. So, my next question, you mentioned that you really like the autonomy and you mentioned the pay is good. What would you say are like the best parts about being a bounty hunter?
Well, I think one of the easiest concepts to take home for being a bounty hunter is the fact that you can set your own pace on things. So, for example, every Thursday we'll get the bounty call of our mission that we have a Google sheet that we fill out for each store that we want to do. So if I know that next week I have a really busy week, I sometimes can take off a couple stores off my list. So let's say, one week I want 10 stores and the next week I only want five. I can opt out and only do the five stores if that's what I sign up for. I'm ambitious, so I sign up for every single store possible because I want to make as much money as possible every week. It's all up to how much you want to put into it. I will say it's not like being a DoorDash driver, though. You can't just say, I think I want to do this, and then the day that it comes to doing it, you say, I don't want to do it. Because the thing is when you commit, you guys at Fuel AI are expecting us to actually fulfill our duties. So if I sign up for a store and I get assigned a store, I have to do it by Wednesday, or the next week you will not assign me that store. And so I know that, and I think that's a big concept that anybody that was going to sign up for Fuel AI as a bounty hunter should understand that there are repercussions for not fulfilling your duties. But I've never run into that, thankfully. I've always bit off enough that I can chew. But I do think that anybody that's coming into doing this, it's not a hard job, but it's definitely a laborious job. It's something that you have to put the effort into. And with that said, I will show you. I have my this is my rig. This is what I use when I go out to the field. I have a GoPro tripod that I bought, and then I bought a little clip, and then I put my phone on it, so that way, when I go out, I can take photos. But see how flexible it is, where it's like I can do stuff where one of the problems that I have run into as a bounty hunter is you have to bend over to the ground to take photos. There are price tags, especially Walmart. They love doing that at Walmart, that are down at the bottom, and you can't just, bend all the way down every single time because you're getting, 500, 600, 700 photos sometimes at some of these stores. Best Buy alone, I take 1,300 photos every week. And it's just one of those things where having this little setup here has saved my back because I can just do this and I can make it work for me. And it's I still have to bend over sometimes and get to the right corner of things. Or if there's a glass case, those are the worst because of the glare, where I have to like go right up against the glass. It's definitely a hard job, but it's an easy hard job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I will say that thing helps you get the price tags and the photos down below. Being 5 feet tall, I need that thing for the pictures up high.
Correct. Yes.
So it can help in both
Yeah,
directions.
yeah, yeah. And that's the other thing is sometimes there's stuff that, it's just a little bit cumbersome to get where, for example, Home Depot, for example, they have their weed whackers, the Echo brand. They have them in this cage and it's so high up. I can't even get up there. I have to call over to somebody, ask them to open the cage up, and then I take my little doohickey here and I put it all the way here, and I'm still standing on my tippy toes trying to get the photo. And so it's definitely nice to have a tool. And then another thing that I have is with my photos that I have a remote shutter, which I use because sometimes when you're trying to get a photo, if you're just holding the phone, let's say I was holding the phone by itself, right?
Mhm.
Touching the phone itself can cause this to vibrate and then the photo's blurry. So I bought a remote camera shutter, and basically I just the whole time, and this comes in really handy on Amazon, no more than 20 bucks, and it's great to have. And then I also, my phone case is pink,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes I'm in such a hurry trying to do my captures, and I'll be going from store to store where I end up misplacing my phone in my car sometimes. And so it's really nice to have a hot pink case because I find this phone so fast. I'm like, there it is. And it's nice because, the stores, they close at a certain time. And if you run out of time for the day and it's past the deadline for getting your capture, you're done. So there's no time to dawdle. So everything's got to have a brightness to it so I can find it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, aside from the extension arm and the remote camera shutter, what other tips do you have for successful capture?
Yeah, great question. Um, I feel like when I go into the store, I am a guest of that store. And those people that see me come into that store, I'm an outsider to them. They're like, who is this person? Why are they running around taking photos and whatnot? And so, what I've really learned at this point is I have to be extra friendly to the staff at the store. Not that I wouldn't be friendly, but I have to be like almost like a surrogate employee where sometimes customers walk up to me and they ask me where something is, or they say, do you work here? And instead of being like, I don't work here, angry about it, I help them. I'll take them to wherever it is if it's something that they need, because I feel like the staff will be more receptive to me taking my photos if they know that I'm also helping their customers sometimes. And so
Right.
I feel like it's definitely it's a great way to build relationships with people
Mhm.
and build relationships with the staff, because they can just tell me to leave, and I've been asked to leave stores a couple times now, and it's really kind of mind-boggling when I have been asked to leave, because I feel like if the person just listened to what I was up to, they might actually understand and let me stay a little longer. But I always respectfully walk away and I say see you later, and
Mhm.
I go to another store down the street because there's like so many different varieties of the same store, like every 5 miles nowadays.
Sure, yeah.
And so it's just one of those, concepts. When you're doing a bounty, it's making friends with the staff, especially if you're going to go weekly. If you're coming in for one day, one time, still be nice, but it's like they won't even remember you. But if you're there every single week, 52 weeks in a row, they'll remember you the third or fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh time. So it's like you might as well get a good start with them and be, pleasant and polite. And I also try to keep it a secret what I'm doing. I try not to let people know what I'm up to, because I do think that there are people out there that are they're scared that there's going to be some sort of repercussion on them for letting someone like me come and gather data of
Mm.
price tags. So usually when I'm confronted and someone says, "What are you doing?" I just tell them, "Oh, I'm just capturing a couple photos for work." I keep it real light, easy. I don't tell them much details. I have had to explain myself thoroughly to people to get like the clearance from them, the green light. Like
Mhm.
Best Buy, the first time I walked into Best Buy to do my capture, I walked right up to the desk and I said, "Is the manager here?" And I spoke to him and I told him, I said, "This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm up to. I just want to let you know." And he was like, "That's fine, not a problem." And the reason I did that was because people watch you walk into a store taking photos. They think you're stealing. They think you're up to something. They got the cameras in the sky, and they'll watch you. And so I feel like it's easier to get the job done if I'm transparent from the get go.
Yeah.
Now, other stores like Menards, I will never tell Menards what I'm up to. Menards is a privately owned company. They're very secretive on their pricing and strategies. Where I have learned my lesson now after getting kicked out of two Menards, that I don't take this in anymore. I don't go in with this. I bend over. I use my, I get on my hands and knees if I have to take a photo, but I just walk in just like this, because they are very particular at Menards, where I treat it almost as like a secret shopper experience, where it's like I don't want them to know what I'm up to.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of one of those situations where you have to learn the lay of the land and be a chameleon when you need to. And yeah, it's been a really cool experience though. I have had a lot of fun. One of the issues that I have run into with doing this job particularly is I buy too much stuff. I'm shopping. I'm out there. I'm looking at stuff. Ooh, that's on clearance. Ooh, that's cheap. I'm sold. And so it's just one of those cool byproducts of the workload, where it's like you are also looking at all the prices of everything all the time, where it's like sometimes you might buy something. So it's like beware of that concept because I have spent way too much money at Lowe's, particularly. I don't know what it is about Lowe's, but I love going into Lowe's. Like I will go to multiple Lowe's in a week just to check out the prices on stuff and see what's on clearance because they love to mark stuff down. And it's like for me, when I see something and it's a good deal, I'll buy it. But yeah, it's been wonderful being a bounty hunter. I've enjoyed it.
Oh, that's great. So tell me a little bit about your educational and your work background. Do you do any other jobs besides bounty hunting? And what were you doing prior to becoming a bounty hunter?
Great question. So I've worked in the tech field for the past about 10 years now. I got my master's degree in educational technology, informational technology, and basically I have worked all sorts of customer facing roles trying to promote new technology to different people. One of my first jobs that I had in the tech world was I was a safe ride representative for Uber. And basically, I got people to sign up for Uber at festivals, and I gave them free rides. I'd go up to them like, "How you getting home today?" And they'd say, "Oh, taxi." I'm like, "Wait, wait, 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 wait! I'll give you a free ride home if you sign up for this service." And I helped launch Uber in Chicago and in Toledo, Ohio. I was running around Toledo back in the day, hanging up signs for Uber, and it had my personal code on it. And so every time somebody in Toledo used it, they got a free ride, and I got money. And so other jobs I've had is I worked for a self-checkout pharmacy where I would stand in front of a kiosk and I'd say, come here, let me help you fill your prescription. And I would take people through the prescription process it was basically like an ATM pill machine. And it was a great job. I love that one. And then I also worked for a company with actually with John Nam called Mashton, which is a AI powered self checkout, and I worked with them for a few years, showing off their product to different customers at different locations like gas stations and hospitals and schools. And it was a really fun time because I got to learn a lot about AI and computer vision. And I thought it was such a great time and experience. And now I am solely doing the bounties. It's my only job now. I could take on another job, and I totally want to. Like, I would love to have a 40-hour a week job and bounty, because that's how flexible bounty hunting is. I can set my schedule to how I need my day to run and then go do my bounties whenever I need to. And so I have not done anything other than bounty hunting because it has paid so well that I feel like it's kind of, it's just as much money as any other job I've made or I've worked. And so I just really think it's a lucrative opportunity, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, that's great. So, how much money do you make as a bounty hunter? And whether it's by the week or every 2 weeks or every month, what are we
Yeah.
looking at?
So every week I have been taking home no less than $1,000. Sometimes it's 1,500 a week. It depends on the week. It depends on the cycle of what's needed. It also depends on my schedule. If I can't take on as many things in one week, my numbers go down. But it's been very steady. I've made good money every single week, and I do think that I'm an outlier. I think I'm lucky that I can get that many stores in one week under my belt because I know that there is a small pool to swim in. And so it's just cool that there's this opportunity where I'm excited to see how it grows because I do think that, as time goes on and there's more opportunities for people, there's more bounty hunters to come on. I think there'll be more people making more money, where it's like maybe,
Absolutely.
in a year from now, everybody will be saying, oh, I'm making 2 grand a week, doing this. So
Right.
there's a lot of opportunity here.
Yeah, we're just starting out. We're just barely scratching the surface. You're right about that. That's cool. So, I have one last question for you. If somebody was thinking about becoming a bounty hunter and they asked for your advice, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to make sure they invest in a good pair of shoes and also make sure that they have some good music to listen to when they're working, getting their bounties, because it does get a little kind of like it gets boring walking up and down the aisles taking photos where you need something in your ear to listen to, even if it's like a true crime documentary or something. Where I definitely feel like it's good to have music or something going on, keep you occupied while you're taking photos.
Well, that's awesome. Um, okay, I think that's all the questions I have for you today, Sean.
Neat, excellent. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on our show. Happy hunting.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for watching Under the Hood. We'll be back next week with another story from the people behind the data. Fuel AI is a global marketplace connecting data collectors to AI builders for first-party AI training data. See you soon.